Do you know how to mute everybody, unmute Emily, do all that good stuff?
We're gonna figure it out. Yeah. I'm not a huge Zoom person, but we will figure it out. I think I can do it though. I have it recording, so we're all good. It looks like most everybody's muted except for myself and only you. Yeah. Yep, I can do it.
Okay.
Right.
I love y'all. Have a wonderful time in discussion. I'm sorry I can't be on here, but I know it's going to be amazing.
No, don't apologize. We'll be praying for you for sure.
Thank you. I love y'all.
Love you too. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm winging it, so I'm going to do my best to
Michael Tweedle.
Everyone.
Michael Tweedle. Two, one. Blast off! It's time to come in, guys.
At the moment, probably worried sick that her dad's not home to take.
Everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, great. All right. I'm definitely going to start us off in prayer, and then we will get started. I'm super excited to be leading off. We're going to be talking about the first 4 chapters of the book, and then also pages 1 through 8 in your companion guide, which is absolutely amazing, which actually makes the book a complete game changer in my eyes. So it really brings a lot more of it to life. So I'll start us off in prayer. So, dear God, we just love you and praise you and just thank you so much for everything. Dear Lord, I thank you for each family member that is present in this video tonight. And dear God, I just ask that you bless this time that we have, dear Lord. I ask that just the words that we're studying, dear Lord, I just pray that we can just bring them to heart. It can really open our eyes, dear Lord, and just bring all the energy to our businesses, to our lives, to our family, and to our future that you need us to have, dear Lord. I pray specifically for Booker's mom right now, dear Lord. I just pray blessings over her. I pray for complete healing, dear Lord. I pray for all the doctors and the medical staff that are dealing with her. And dear God, I just pray for Booker and the family that they just have a sense of calm and that they just keep you in the forefront of all that they're doing right now. It's in your precious name that we pray. Amen. All right. I am going to, I'm going to unmute Emily because she is joining us. There you go. I got her unmuted. We are going to tag team this. So we're actually going to be talking over the first 44 pages of the book. I hope that everybody has had a chance to read it and just really dig in deep to it. Yes, I have my book here. But the biggest secret that I have is I have actually listened to the audio, I think 3 times. I don't know if y'all are Audible people or not, but I am in my vehicle a ton. So I can actually listen and just let it sink in. I'm such a Audible learner, but then I can come back and reiterate everything visually by reading the book and the companion guide. Does everybody have their companion guide? Have you been able to dig into that and answer those questions? It's absolutely amazing. So, Emily, did you want to say anything to start us off?
No, I think you covered everything. We're going through chapters 1 through 10 tonight, and then the companion guides 1 through 8, pages 1 through 8. So if you want to get those out, you can.
Yeah. So actually, Emily is, like, in my eyes, an expert whenever it comes to book studies. She's actually a crossline, but I've got to join her in some of her book studies that she's done in Kelly's page, and she is a pro at this. So I am going to let her. She actually kind of got me organized, so thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'm going to just start off. We've got a couple discussion questions, but before we do that, in chapter 1, it talks about how George has his flat tire, and it just sets the tone for the first chapter. And he's having a bad day, and he's a woe is me person, and nothing has gone correct in his life, and he can't understand it. And to me, I'm sitting back and I'm reading this and I'm like, just pray about it. Just, change your attitude. Like, I'm a half full, half glass, a glass half full kind of person, not a glass half empty kind of person. So I'm just like, just change your attitude. Like, it's got to be it's simple in my eyes. It's super simple. But there are a couple eye-opening moments. I really hate that he doesn't get to spend the time with his family that he wants. And I know that that's got to be hard, And then whenever he gets to meet Joy on the bus, and just knowing good and well that she's constantly talking in the back of his mind while he's going throughout his days. And to me, that is just conscious, our conscious mind in itself saying, this is something that you need to hear. Listen to what she is saying and take this energy and live your life fully energized. So we've got some discussion questions, and we've got 4, and actually we're going to go over those real quick. And the first one is, what does it mean to be the driver of your bus? What does being the driver of your bus mean to you? So I'm just going to tell y'all what I had wrote down in here, and then I would love for y'all to share. I'm not exactly sure exactly how Kim wanted us to go about this, but I would love for us to be able just to talk about the questions and then just kind of open format it there. So for me, the first rule for the ride of your life is where we need to start. So becoming the driver is my choice, and it's your choice too. So you make the decision right then and there that you're going to be the driver of the bus. You're going to set the tone for which direction you want your life to live. And with that, if you're not the driver of the bus, and if you don't have a driver of the bus, then you can't go anywhere. And that is like, oh my goodness, if I'm not going to drive the bus in the direction that I want the bus to go, then it's not going to go anywhere. And that's not the way any of us want to live our lives, nor the way we want to run our businesses. And then I also put that it means that I get to choose the direction that I take, and I get to steer towards my goals and not away from any of them. Did y'all have any amazing takes out of that? And that was also in your companion guide. Not sure what question it was.
I wanted to share in regards to being the driver of your own bus. Like George, he had gotten himself in a rut. It had said that he at one time was a go-getter. He was a star athlete, and then just like the weight of life kind of came down on him, and it just kind of created this domino effect from. He was failing at, or he wasn't doing well at work. His marriage was, falling apart. His kids, he didn't get to spend time with them like he wanted to. And, he just had all these, everything around his life was just falling apart, and his attitude was bad. He was overweight. And so I think, we can sometimes in our business, in our own lives, get in that rut where we forget that we are the driver of our bus, and we let so many outside influences, come into us and redirect our bus, whereas we are the ones that are in charge of that. And so I think when you see yourself getting in a rut, be it in life, your business, whatever, just to really remember that you are the driver of your bus, and to, even if you do let outside influences get in, you can get back in that driver's seat and steer away and, create a new direction, the direction that you want to go in.
Yeah, that's really good. I know I tell my team all the time, like, we have no naysayers. Like, we're not going to be the naysayers of our team. Always be positive. Because, and we'll talk it later on in the book where they talk about the energy vampires, and that is so true. People can totally suck the energy out of you, but in return, you can also fill people up with as much life as you're willing to fill them up with. I'm all about speaking life over people. So, do your best. I think I take that, as far as the energy, do your best to always speak life, and to always be the positive energy, because it is contagious. I know we've said that time, you hear that from the time that you're little, your energy is contagious. So always be that positive energy that people around you need. You don't want to be around people who are naysayers. You don't want to be around people who don't want to get on the bus with you. So just always keep that super positive energy in mind.
And even just like Joy, she has a big smile on her face, regardless of what's going on. Even just small things like that, giving your checkout lady a compliment or smiling at your neighbor as you walk down the street it makes a huge impact in just your day-to-day life for yourself and for other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Do you want to take the second question mark that we have going?
Yeah. So the next question was, what behavior attitude keeps you from moving your bus forward? So for me, I think one attitude, I guess, or that I fall into sometimes is if I have somebody that says something negative to me, whether it be life or my business, I immediately kind of shut down. It affects me personally, and I need to not let it be personal to me. To realize, when in terms of life, that's their opinion, that's not my opinion. And to be able to be okay with that and be, like, okay, I'm confident in what I'm doing. I'm confident in myself and the choices I'm making for my business, for my life, for my kids, whatever. A behavior that kind of, keeps the bus from moving forward. For me, in terms of like business, I know one of my struggles that I struggle with is time management. And I know that can be a struggle for many people, especially when you have your own business and you are an entrepreneur, you have a lot of freedom. And so I know that's something that I need to work on better in order to get my bus moving in the direction that I want it to move in.
Yeah, that's great. So I actually had some of the same, which is crazy because we didn't get to talk about this before we actually went live. My two things was focus was my weakest point. I have a tendency to put a ton of stuff on my plate. I am really great at I like to think that I'm great at multitasking, but the more I multitask, the less I get accomplished. So I've really got to start focusing more on one project at a time and breaking those down and crossing them off my list. And that's something that I know is a weakness for me. So I've got to really pay more mind to that. And then my second thing is comparison. I have a tendency, especially in this business, because it's so easy for us to do, is to compare myself to other people, to compare myself to my uplines and to compare myself to my cross lines, and even compare myself, to other members on my team. I don't like to call them downline members because I like to think in my organization that we're all one, we're all unified. So comparison is huge, and that's something that I've got to do, to try not to compare myself to other people. And that's one thing that Joy, she doesn't compare herself to other people. She is her own, and she is very confident in the way she lives her life and the way that she speaks to people whenever they get on her bus. She wants to be sure that I just can picture her, I almost picture her like a larger woman just standing, sitting in her seat with her shoulders back and very confident in the way that she runs her bus. And that's something that we all need to take away from the book into our businesses, is that we've got to put our best foot forward and hold our head high and our shoulders back and be super confident in what we do. Because the more we think it, our brains think it, and then we start believing it, because the brain is such a powerful tool. Did anybody want to share? If you don't want to share, it's totally fine. But if you do, if you want to raise a hand, I can unmute you. But if not, then we can go on to our next point that we're going to discuss. I think. No? Going to see. I don't even see any talk going on. Okay, so the next question that we have is, what is the first thing that you want to do to make a positive change? So reading through on the companion guide, there actually is some great points on this one, which I absolutely love. So it actually has your action steps. And I think those are amazing. If you haven't filled those out, I highly encourage you just to take a little time and fill them out. It's actually on page 5 on the companion guide, which can help you start taking some action steps. But then it also goes on, again, on page 7. So my things that I plan on, and I actually wrote it down, is number 1 is to wake up with purpose. My plan is every morning to wake up with purpose, which I try to do every day, but to be more intentional every single morning to wake up with a grateful heart. I always give the Lord thanks for everything that he's doing for me and has done for me and will continue to do through me. Always that. But I also have to be intentional every single day to give praise for my team, pray for my leaders, which I hope that you are all doing that, praying for your teams because it's such a huge thing. And then to visualize my goals. So there was actually a part in here where you, where it says where you make your commitment on page 7, to make a decision to spend the same amount of time every single day working on visualizing your goals. That's something that I've never done. So I want to be able to wake up in the morning and visualize myself, wherever your highest rank is. I want to be able to visualize myself as a Royal Crown Diamond walking across the stage. I want to be able to visualize my family and my friends there supporting and cheering me on. I want to feel that giddy feeling in my gut because it's something that I've completely accomplished. And I just want to I want to feel the tears running down my face. I want to feel the joy in my heart. Just to visualize that each and every morning. And I really think that it'll set the tone for the rest of the day. So if I wake up in the morning and I give my thanks and I have my prayer and my quiet time, but to actually sit back and visualize that intentionally, and I actually put that I was going to do it every single morning at 7 a.m. I usually get up 6:15 or 6:30, have my quiet time, and then I come into the living area with the rest of the family. But I'm going to take an intentional 15 minutes, and just during that 15 minutes, visualize all of these things of myself being at the top of this company, because that is where my dream is. That is where my heart is, and that's where I'm going to end up. I will be there one day. So to actually sit back and visualize all of those feelings, all of the emotions that come with it, and from there, have my 5 most important things that I'm going to do that day, knowing good and well that I'm going to focus on them and I'm going to be intentional on them. So those were the things that I was going to do intentionally to make positive changes. Saw a chat. I wanted to see that. Danielle, these are just questions that we had on our own that we have come together that we're wanting to ask. So that's where they're coming from. They're not actually in the companion guide. Sorry, that could have been a little bit confusing. So we just had 4 questions that we were going to use as discussion questions, and that's where they're coming from. Okay. And then Sabrina says to get life more organized and focused and not scattered all over. So girl, I'm right there with you. I have a tendency to be completely scattered.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay, so question number 4. This kind of goes along with your companion guide as well, and it is to write down your vision for your life, career, and family. What actions will you need to take to make this happen? So for my life, I want to be happy. And when I say happy, meaning I want to wake up every day and, be very positive. Or that's, I guess, piggybacking off the 3rd question with positive change. I want to be positive every day. I want to wake up with that grateful heart. I want my family to be content. I want my family, I want everybody to be able to get along in my family. Just really, I want to be able to serve the Lord and raise my son and, have a happy home life. For career, with Young Living, because that is, I don't want to call it a job, but that is, where I see myself with. And, I want to be able to share that wellness, purpose, and abundance with as many people as I can, and be able to get oils and chemical-free products into homes. I would like my downline members, my team members, to also see that vision, and even folks in my downline that are not leaders to catch that vision, that we can be world changers, and what we have, our product that we have, is really great. I mean, it's not, I think I saw a video one time with a Royal Crown Diamond. She said, I'm not selling you another pair of leggings. I'm not selling you a handbag. We are really selling genuine products that are life-changing for families and for generations down the line. And that really, when I heard that, I was like, wow, we really do have something awesome here to offer people, and we just need to be willing and open to sharing that, regardless of potential rejection from some people that might not be on board or might not want to get on your energy bus. But there's a lot of people, there's a big world out there, and there's a lot of people that are ready and want to get on that bus. And so you have to just find those people and love on them and be there for them. And then the family, I guess kind of the life and the family kind of got that meshed together a bit, but just really being a family that serves the Lord in what we do, and that is kind and considerate to others and shows love to folks. What actions do I need to do to make this happen? Again, wake up every day with a grateful heart, and getting into the Word more daily. I think for me, that's something that I have seen in the last year that that has been very helpful for me to do, and to, again, not let those naysayers and not let the negative energy or the energy vampires around me get me down, and just charging ahead and, again, being the driver of my bus.
Yeah. So actually in chapter 10, they talk a lot about focus. And I think a lot of the focus goes right through here with your vision. Because if you don't have a vision, it's hard to have the focus, and vice versa. So it's really hard to have focus if you don't have a vision, if you don't know where you're going, if you have no direction, if you don't know which way you're steering your bus, then it's really hard to have a vision. So I think it's super important, especially in our businesses, to have a vision, to have a plan, to have a direction to where you're going. So if that's not something that you already have, I highly, highly encourage you to sit down and really pray about it. This is something that my husband and I have done together. We've sat down and we've what is our vision for this business? For us as a couple and as a family, which direction are we going to go? What is our vision? How do we want to run our business? Who do we want on our bus with us? What kind of traits do we want them to have? What kind of characteristics do we want them to have? Things like that. I think it's super important, and to be very specific in those items, those things. I think it's so, so important just to have that always in the back of your mind. I know I'm looking for these characteristics of people, because they're going to help make the vision all one. They're going to help the bus go in the certain direction that it's going. And then they say in chapter 10, it's rule number 2, it's desire, vision, and focus, moving your bus in the right direction. And I think if you have all those things together, your bus is definitely going to move in the right direction. For me, the vision, my biggest vision in life is just to be a servant. I'm here to be a servant, no matter what area of life. I'm here to serve people. But I also put to love and to be loved, because that's something that we always want. We want to be loved. It's just what we want to do. I want to exude joy, positivity, and Christ in my life through all things that I do. But I also want to live life with grace, honesty, and a drive and a desire to work hard, but to be able to play during it all. My husband and I love to vacation. We have teenagers, so we actually have a little bit more freedom. So I want to be able to exude all of those things, but yet still have fun, and know that when I have downtime, I can still have the downtime and I can still have the fun, but still show those things in my life. I know that we didn't share these questions with y'all in the beginning, but if y'all would love to, if you want to share with us, we would love to hear anything that we can go through the questions again if you would like to. Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer. I unmuted you. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. When I was listening to Emily, it was what I'd written is very similar. So I was like, oh, check, check, check. I really want to work with God, being in the center of my marriage and my family and my work and just in my life with personal and then Young Living. Of course, want to work toward the next rank and work toward financial freedom. But I do also really want to strive to have a joyful heart. I think I've learned in the last couple of years, I think it's easier, of course, to have a joyful heart when things are good. It's hard to have a joyful heart when there are challenges that are out of your control. And so I've really have tried to learn, and I'm still, of course, learning, trying to strive to have that joyful heart, no matter how your day is or what comes your way. And so I'm actively trying to do that. And then I, of course, want to continue to help my team, educate them, and using the oils and use it as a lifestyle and not just, I use lemon once a week. I mean, to help them, buy into this is a lifestyle change and how they can have wellness with oils. And then definitely needing to get into the word more consistently. And that's kind of where I'm at. But I love loving on my team. And but I definitely have some areas I need to keep working on.
Yeah, I think that's just common with all of us. And the more that we grow as business builders, the more, it's like they always say, the deeper in the word you get, the more the devil is going to come after you. And it's kind of the same thing, I think, in business. That the more people you get on your team, the harder it's going to be, to always find that vision and to find that joy. So I think having this book around, to keep it there, maybe to go back and revisit it every year. If you have the Audible, really you can listen to it in a day, and just constantly go back to it and put yourself in check and make sure that you're not being the energy vampire that they mention later on in the book, because that's the last thing that we want, is for any of us to be the energy vampires in our businesses or in life in general. Did anybody have anything that they wanted to talk about before in the companion guide that really stuck out, that they had questions or they needed help with or anything? I can just tell you, I made this big part, this little note, and I actually loved it on focus, because like I had said earlier, like focus is this huge problem for me, and then I have to make it better. But when they said, he said that focus is setting your aim and intentionally setting your sights on the goal that you've laid for yourself. And this is what I love the most. He says, during a horse race, the trainer places blinders on the horse so it cannot become distracted or scared by all that is going on around it. The horse remains singularly fixed on the goal ahead and therefore intent on reaching that goal. How awesome would that be if we could all just put blinders on and run for the finish line every single day whenever we step foot into our offices, whether they be an office like this or outside in the office or wherever you're doing your work that day, because that's one amazing thing about this business, is that we don't have to be in a box. But to be able to put those blinders on and not let anything distract us. I just think that would be absolutely amazing. That was one of my favorite things. But then I have focus issues, so I think I really needed to hear that.
The one thing I liked, and it was in the companion guide, it was on page 7, and it was also in the book, and I want to say it was chapter 10. Looking right at it now. We're winners, not whiners. Mm. I think that spoke to me because I have a tendency to be a whiner and not a winner. So that was a nice little wake-up call, a nice little even just catchphrase to help remind me, if I start to complain or if I start to whine about something, that no, I'm not a whiner, I'm a winner. And to really help that redirect me in what I'm doing at that time. So I really liked that. I thought that was kind of a really nice takeaway that, you can easily remember.
Yeah. Be a winner and not a whiner. And I know in the book that Joy says that the more you complain, the more you have to complain about. If you really think about that, like that's huge. Like, hello, like, okay, let's stop complaining, because if I'm going to complain, and it's kind of like, like a snowball effect. Once you start complaining, then somebody else is going to complain, and then somebody else is going to complain, and you're all going to be feeding over each other, or feeding off of each other, and you're going to be like, we have the worst lives ever. But if you turn that around and you're positive, I know there's been many a times. I volunteer a lot at my kids' school, and they kind of make fun of me because no matter who comes in, no matter what they're complaining about, I can find something positive about it. And they're like, do you ever see negative in anything? And I'm like, I choose not to. I choose not to see the bad in it. I choose to see the good in it. Sure, we all have our bad days, but I don't want that negativity to fall in my office. I don't want it to fall on my lap, and I don't want to be the source of it most of all. And I think that, like in business, they always say if you're going to complain, you need to complain up instead of complain down, which is true. I mean, but I do my best not even to complain up. If I'm going to complain, more than likely I'm going to complain to my husband because I know that it will stop there.
The other point I did want to talk about too, and it was in between chapters 9 and 10, was talking about the law of attraction. And I know that is something that if you were part of the 60-day rank up, or even Molly talked a bit about it. She talked about it in the 60-day rank up, and she talked about it also in the video from last week, a little bit about that law of attraction and how, what your energy, the energy that you give off and what you say really does attract what you're going to gain. And that is in business and life. So if you're a negative person, many times you're going to attract negative people. We've often said misery loves company.
Yes.
And if you are giving off positive energy and you're smiling at people and you're upbeat and you see the good in everything, even in bad situations, you see the good, you're going to attract that kind of energy to you. So I thought that was really another good point in terms of how we can apply this book outside in life and in business.
Very good. Very good. I agree. That pretty much covers all of the questions, and I think we hit on a lot of the companion guide. Yeah. Go ahead, Danielle.
Okay. I was just going to see if you guys could repeat those first couple questions that I was searching for.
Certainly.
Like, oh my gosh, what did I miss?
Yeah, no problem at all. So we just had 4 discussion questions that we wanted to go over a little bit tonight. The first one is, what does being the driver of the bus mean to you? Okay. And then number 2 is, what behavior or attitude keeps you from moving your bus forward? Which I think is a good question to keep in front of us a lot of times, So if you're in a lull, if you're just kind of sitting and your OGV hasn't moved, you can always go back and you can look where's my behavior right now? How is my attitude? Where do I need to put myself in check? So I think that's a great one. Number 3 is, what is the first thing that you want to do to make a positive change? And I would definitely probably look at this in more than one area. Of course, business, because we're all in this Young Living business thing together. But also to look at it, you can look at it in so many different areas. You're with your kids, with your spouses, with your family, if you work outside of the home, different areas. So you can definitely look at those different things. And then number 4 is to write down your vision for your life, for your career, and for your family. And then what actions will you need to make this happen? And I think some of those questions are kind of in the action steps on page 5, kind of in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody have anything else? No hands, no chats. No?
Anybody want to share? You open to sharing?
Like I tell my team, this is the part where we communicate with each other. No, we completely understand. A lot of these questions are very personal, and that's okay. I think the more that we can get in tune with ourselves, the easier it is. But I think they're amazing questions. I cannot love this book anymore. Like I've listened to it, I think 3 or 4 times, and I've read it once. I actually bought a dozen books, and I give them to people all the time. I actually have one sitting on my desk right here that I'm going to give to the principal at our school, because he's an older gentleman, and he doesn't, I guess, he's not really up to change. So I'm like, he's always wondering how come everybody's so negative? How come this? How come that? And I'm like, I have a book for you. Just let me get this book for you, and I will let you read this book. So this book is for everyone. I don't know if any of you any of you get the kids book? Have you seen the kids book? Okay, so if you have little ones, this book is so good. So they actually talk about it. Joy talks, I think it's in chapter 2 or chapter 3. It is so good. Like, it talks about bullies. It is really good. So I encourage you that if you have kids or you have little ones, to get this one. I think I picked it up on Amazon for $14 or something like that. But I encourage you to get it. I actually read this after I listened to the Audible, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I so wish my kids were little again. But I bought it, and they're going to read it. So it's so good. I encourage you to get that one. Okay.
Did Miranda have a question? She raising her hand?
Yeah, I was just going to get you to repeat the first quickly again. I missed them.
Oh, the questions? Okay, so the first question was, what does being the driver of the bus mean to you?
Okay, and the second one?
And then the second one is, what behavior or attitude keeps you from moving your bus forward?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I think Kim really wanted us to be on for an hour, but without a whole lot of discussion, then I think that's it. I hope that y'all are loving this book, and I hope that you stay on and complete it 100% with the rest of us. Yeah, go ahead.
I can invoke some discussion if you want.
Yeah.
So, I love the book so far, but I wanted to see what you guys thought about whenever Joy says that everything happens for a reason. I used to say that all the time, and I think everybody believes that, but my belief has kind of changed on that, and I kind of wanted to see what you guys thought. Like the fact that that he had a flat tire. I feel like maybe sometimes that happens for a reason, but sometimes it just happens, you know? What do y'all think about that?
Emily, you want to take it, or you want me to?
I will say, I think sometimes the reasons things happen are bigger than we think. I still am a pretty big believer in everything does happen for a reason. Everything does happen for a purpose, and God is an orderly God and has that ultimate power for us. Again, that's my personal belief. I do think that sometimes things happen and we don't know the reason behind why they happen. And, we might never know the reason why they might happen, or, they just happen. That was, I thought when I was reading that in here, I was like, okay, well, he got a flat tire so that he could get his brakes checked. Because if not, then he would have been driving and would have lost control of the car. So I hope that kind of answered your question. I mean, I still am a big believer in everything does happen for a reason, because I do feel like, God is working through us, and we don't always know the reasons why things happen, but that they do happen.
I would have to agree with that. I really am a big believer in things happen for a reason. And my opinion in this, I think like he really got a flat tire so he could meet Joy, because he needed Joy in his life. Had he not met Joy, then his life could have gone a totally different direction. But in my opinion, as a Christ follower, I really feel like he needed Joy in his life. And this was God's way of putting what he needed in his life. That's my opinion.
And that's I think that's like a bigger picture opinion, because he could look at it and go, oh, poor me, just one more thing that's happened to me that's that's a negative thing. Well, man, my tire went flat today. Or, it kept him from, with getting his brakes, being able to get his brakes checked and, meeting joy, which is going to take us through the rest of the book. So there's bigger reasons for why things happen that we don't always know or even understand why, but it can be life-changing and transforming for us.
Yeah, like I really thought that, like later on when she said this was no coincidence, like of course, like divine appointments and things like that.
Yeah.
I guess it was just hard for me to look at, like, I don't know, the flat tire in itself. Like, what if it was, like, I know this is a narrative, so of course it worked out that way for the sake of the story. But like in real life, if someone gets sick or something like that, saying, oh, well, God caused that so that something good could come out of it. Moreover, I feel like sometimes bad things happen and God turns those ashes into beauty. Like he makes something good out of it. He doesn't cause it to happen to make something good out of it, but he's, like, does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
I think it totally makes sense. Carrie, are you over there biting your tongue?
No, so of course, the one scripture that everyone goes back to is Romans 8:28. And that's the one I'm sure you guys know, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. And so, from my studies and whatnot, and I mean everyone, may have different thought processes, but I agree with you, Miranda, that God doesn't cause everything. Like He is all knowing. He knows it's going to happen. Okay, He's omniscient. He's omnipresent. He's with us everywhere all the time, and He's all powerful. Okay, but there are certain things that happen in our lives that are, number one, flesh induced. Number two, sin induced by ourselves, but also sin from another person. And then some things that I believe absolutely God just goes, bam, there you go. But it says every good and perfect gift is from above. And so there you go. So here's my thing. Whenever I was raped when I was 18, I don't think God said, hey, I'm going to let you get raped today. How fun is that? You know what I mean? When I think that came from a sin from someone else. However, because God has an amazing plan and purpose for all of us, He used that situation because He is omniscient, because He knows all things. He used that for a plan and a purpose for my life to be able to minister to other people later on down the line.
Yeah, amen. I agree with you. Yes, like that's kind of what I think. So blanket statement, everything happens for a reason. In that certain situation, like you said, when you're 18, sometimes that can get misconstrued. That can misconstrue the character of God. If you say that everything happens for a reason, well, to someone that was raped at 18, then that could make them feel like, oh, well, God meant for that to happen for a reason, instead of what you said, which was, no, He didn't mean for that to happen around for good.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, in what I have studied and listen, I'm a theologian and I'm not a pastor and I'm not those things, but for my own life and my own understanding of Scripture, from what I understand, is that God, that's, that we always, another things that we always say is, well, the enemy made me do it. Well, you know what? Sometimes it's your flesh. Sometimes it's just you dirty, filthy rag, and because that's who, we are. And so Anyway, I do believe that I think it is something that is easy to say. Everything happens for a reason, and I believe that God takes all things to bring glory to Him for His good and His will and His purpose. And so I have said it before too. Everything happens for a reason. But if you're going to point blank ask me that, and knowing what I know at this point and what I have studied, then I would have to go a little bit more in depth in that. I absolutely believe that God allowed that. He allows things to happen. He didn't stop me from getting raped. He didn't stop that flat tire, right? And he used that situation to, in this narrative, to do absolutely glorious things and to reset this man's focus into where it should be, Mm-hmm. And I do believe that absolutely he was meant to meet Joy. Mm-hmm. I absolutely believe that because our God is all-knowing. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what he would allow to happen. And he knew that there was a bus driver, that there was going to be a divine appointment needed. And he knew that he had a bus driver that was willing to say, yes, I will be obedient to you and I will share, and with me, it's the good news. I will share hope. Okay, so say that. She says, yes, Lord, I'll share hope on my bus. I'll share, yes, and so I can't tell you how many divine appointments that I have, that my sisters have, that you guys have, because of our willingness to obey and to say yes. And God takes your willingness to be obedient, and he is so stinking intelligent. He knows all things, and he's got this huge tapestry and this masterpiece. And I'm not sure why we're going on a spiritual, area, but okay. So, but he's got this huge tapestry and this beautiful masterpiece that only he can, we see all the interweavings of this huge mess, all of these, weavings of thread, and it just looks messy. And when he turns it over, it's an incredibly beautiful piece of artwork, something that we could never even imagine that he was creating. And so I think that he absolutely knew that flat tire was going to happen. And sometimes he does say, all right, you're not going to stop. Let me help you out. Sometimes he allows that sickness to happen so that he will shut us down. Sometimes he allows that flat tire so that he can, introduce joy. But sometimes it's out of sin from someone else. Sometimes it's out of your own, fleshly desires. And so I don't know that I'm not sure if I answered your question at all, but that's what I think of the matter. So
thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just know that, like, in my own life and witnessing God working the way he does, it is just, there are some things that we will never understand. That I don't care how green you are and how much you need detail and how much you need information. The scriptures say that his ways are higher than ours. His knowledge and his thoughts are way higher than ours, and that there are some things that we'll just never know. But in my walk with him, which has been a radical walk, I have countless amounts of stories to tell you of these same divine appointments that would happen in this book. Just for example, if you go back on my page, and I think I probably took it down, but just when we got into a wreck with an 18-wheeler here in Guatemala, that ended up saving a man's life. And it was completely unrelated to the wreck that we got into. And so, and not only did we walk out of this wreck with an 18-wheeler unscathed, we also have this pickup truck that barely has a scratch on it. And you're just like, and the 18-wheeler's torn up. And so only God could have protected us in that way in order for this man who was having epileptic seizures to walk off the bus right then and there, for a nurse to see what was happening across the street, to come over, me oiling this man up, her doing what she's doing, me praying over this guy, and we end up, God used us to save this man's life. None of that would have happened had we not gotten in that wreck. You know what I mean? And so,
Wow.
that's all divine orchestration, divine appointment. And so I see both sides to the statement that all things happen for a reason. I understand why that comes from, where it comes from. However, the other half of that is that sometimes it's actually that God uses all things for his glory, and that he knows it's going to happen. And so he's going to use it for his glory, for his good and purpose, for those who love him. So, I don't know. Did that help?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to see what you guys thought about that, because my mind has been changed just a little bit, and from how I used to just everyone used to say that, and I started thinking about it in deeper terms, and I was like, well, does that really mean that everything God causes? Because no, I don't believe that, but I think I've never looked at it that way, saying, using the scripture, that he works all things for his good, and that he knows it's going to happen, and he's already planning how he's going to use you, or how he's going to, he was planning to protect you and planning to use you to save his life, and the wreck was part of it, and whether he calls it or not doesn't really matter, I guess, in other situations.
No, I was just going to tell
say
you.
In other situations.
Sorry. I'm a country away from you, sister, so there's a little bit of a delay. I was just going to tell you really quickly that what that is called what we call it in when we study scripture and stuff, it's called a bit and tittle. There are bits and tittles that are not important, and that you don't get hung up on staying so focused on that you miss out, or you forget the most important things that God calls us. The God the basics. The gospel. That is something that we do not stray from. You don't change anything from the gospel. We don't argue about the gospel. Here it is. Jesus came. He died. He was buried. He rose again. Period. You know what I mean? And we don't argue about that. We don't have to, we don't do that. But there are things in scripture called bits and tittles that, whether or not God caused it or allowed it or whatever, that's not going to, it's not an eternal question. That's not going to be a thing of, okay, well, is that going to keep me from getting into heaven, or bringing someone with me, or sharing the gospel with someone? Is that going to keep them from going to heaven, whether or not God caused that or not? You know what I mean? So those are called bits and tittles. And that's just what I wanted to tell you. And so you can speak now.
Okay, I was just going to say, after saying that it didn't really matter, I feel like it's a harder thing to say, though, whenever it's harder to call it a bit and tittle, like you said, whenever it's something like someone dies or someone gets really sick and there's no explanation other than, oh, well, God needed them in heaven more than he needed them here. Or I don't know, I just have a hard time with things like that, because I feel like then the character of God is getting misconstrued, and that could potentially hurt someone's walk, because if they think of God as this, I don't know, it just could be productive to say he's a loving God, but yet he causes sickness and whatever. So I don't know.
No, I agree with you. In this time in my walk with the Lord, I would never tell somebody now that God just needed him more than up there than he did here, because God doesn't need any of us.
Right.
He doesn't need us. He wants us. He created us for him, and to bring glory to him, to have relationship with him. But he doesn't need us in heaven or here or wherever. He wants us. You know what I mean? And so how I end up talking to somebody is I just am honest and say, I have no idea. I am so sorry. There are no words that can comfort you. And you just be there for someone at this point. You know what I mean? Back in the day, I probably would have, and I probably have said things like that, or have said, everything, whatever. I don't know. But at this point, I very honest in saying, I have no idea, and I am heartbroken alongside of you. So I agree with you in regards to saying, some things like that. But the thing is that everyone is on a different path. Everyone is on a different place in their journey with the Lord and with God, and learning his character and learning. And I'm really not sure. I'm so sorry that this is going away from the energy bus. Maybe we need to go back. But the thing is that everybody is on a different, some people are still drinking the milk, right? The scripture says that some people are still on the milk. Some people are eating the meat. There are some people who are baby Christians, and there are some people who are in the middle of trying to find out who God is. And then there are some people who are, who have been walking with him longer. And so I think that there is grace, you know what I mean? When there's things said like that, and that you just do what you need to and what you know, and the amount and the walk that you're in, and you search for truth right where you are, if that makes sense. So
work out your own salvation.
Walk it out. And that is what, whenever you are saved, it's called justification. It's just as if you never sinned. When you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, that is the justification. And when you are walking out your relationship with Christ here on earth, that's called sanctification. And that's a lifelong process. It's not something that happens overnight. Just because you received Christ doesn't mean instantly you know everything there is to know about God. Because if that happened, none of us would have to walk out that sanctification, right? And it's not until we go to heaven till we are glorified, that we don't have to, walk the sanctification part out. But in the meantime, there is grace upon grace upon grace. And you do what you need to, where you are in your walk with Christ, and love people in the meantime.
Yeah. So this totally was not to down the book at all, because I'm loving the book. That was one thing that I saw, and I agree with Joy 100%. That was just one thing that I just wanted to see what you guys thought, because not to say that it was wrong, even just curious, just to make conversation about it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It was good conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody have anything else? Nada.
If someone has anything else to add or to disagree, please feel free. Please feel free to do so, because I am learning just as much as everyone else is learning. And so I don't want to be like, oh, well, Carrie said this, and so it's truth, I'm totally open to, extra conversation there. Maybe even outside in Messenger if you want to. So I just wanted to put that out there.
No? Okay. Then nobody has anything. I guess we will end it, and we'll continue reading. This next week is more great things to come to learn. I don't remember what exactly pages that we're reading, but I think
it's pages 45 to 71, and in the companion guide, it's pages 9 through 17.
Yay! Emily, thank you so much for keeping me on track.
You're welcome.
Okay, so y'all enjoy reading. I don't know if y'all are reading it like section at a time, or if you've completely gone through the book and then you're rereading it. I'm enjoying rereading it, so I hope that y'all are enjoying it just as much. So y'all continue to be in prayer for Booker's mom and for the entire Edwards family. I know that they can use all the prayers right now. They will be heard. So thank you so much. And I will sign us off. Y'all have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Tomorrow is Wednesday, which is an amazing day. I don't know. I absolutely love Mondays, which is very ironic in this book because George hated Mondays and I love Mondays because it's just a fresh start. I love them. So y'all just have a great rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing y'all in a couple of days on the next Zoom. Y'all have a great one.